I need space. Don't do that. Don't make jokes.
The mall was fading in the slow, fluorescent way, bright lights, hollow air. Half the storefronts were sealed behind brown paper, like someone had tried to bandage the place and given up. The food court smelled like cinnamon pretzels, fighting a losing war against fryer grease and stale carpet. If you stood still long enough, you could hear the building settle, a tired old animal shifting under its own weight. Lenora walked beside me like we were strangers forced to share an elevator, not arguing, not touching. Just close enough for other people to assume married and far enough for me to feel the cold. She kept checking her phone the way a person checks a door lock after hearing a noise. "What are you staring at?" I asked. She didn't look up. "Nothing." Nothing has a lot of screen time lately, I thought. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I watched her reflection in a jewelry store window, her face composed, her mouth set in that practiced little curve she used at fundraisers and hospital meetings. The "everything is fine" expression, the kind you wear when you're already halfway out the room. When we reached the last open anchor store, an old department place hanging on out of stubbornness, she stopped like she'd hit an invisible wall. "I need space," she said. It wasn't dramatic. No shaking voice, no tears, just a line delivered like she'd rehearsed it on the drive over. "Space," I repeated. "Like outer space? Or the kind where you can still text me a list of errands?" Her eyes flicked up, quick, sharp. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make jokes." I almost laughed at that. If there was one thing I'd never done, it was make jokes at the right time. My timing was a broken clock, wrong until it wasn't. "I need space to think," she said again, slower, like repetition made it truer. "Just for a few days." I waited for the rest. The "I'm staying with my sister." The "I booked a hotel." The "I need to breathe." Instead, she said, "Don't follow me. Don't call 100 times. Don't turn it into a thing." "Lenora," I said, and my voice surprised me by sounding calm. "Everything is already a thing." Her phone buzzed. She turned it face down on a display table like the glass could swallow it. That one small move told me more than any confession would have. I didn't grab it. I didn't demand to see it. I just watched her hands, manicured, steady, too steady, and I felt something shift inside me. Not rage, not heartbreak, inventory. If you've ever owned a business that survives on keys and access and trust, you learn to take stock fast. What's mine? What's shared? What's exposed? What can be locked? What can be taken? She started walking again, back toward the exit, toward the parking lot where our lives sat in neat rows of metal and paint. "Where are you going?" I asked. She hesitated. "A friend's." "A friend," I said, like the word tasted funny. She slid her purse strap higher on her shoulder. "Please don't do this in public." "We're in a mall," I said. "The only thing public here is despair." That almost got a reaction, a tiny twitch at the corner of her mouth. Then it was gone. At the car, she didn't kiss me goodbye. She didn't even look at me when she opened the driver's door. I did one stupid thing. I watched the way she gripped the steering wheel, tight, familiar, like she'd been driving this route in her head for a while. "You'll be okay," she said, and it sounded like something you say to a dog before you leave it alone all day. Then she drove off. I stood there a second too long, staring at the space where her taillights had been. The air smelled like exhaust and winter and whatever lie she'd put on like perfume. My phone buzzed. Not her. Mina. Mina Pruitt wasn't a friend you called to cry. Mina was a friend you called when you needed someone to hand you a mop and point at the mess. I answered, "If this is about your cousin's divorce, I'm not doing free therapy today." "It's about yours," Mina said. "You sound like a man standing on the edge of something." Is this the part where you tell me to breathe? This is the part where you tell me what happened. I told her. Not the feelings. Mina didn't collect feelings. I told her the facts. The space, the friends, the face-down phone, the clean exit. There was a pause where I could hear Mina thinking, and Mina thinking always sounded like a filing cabinet slamming shut. Okay, she said. Do not do anything loud. Do not do anything that can be spun. I wasn't planning on singing outside her window with a boombox. Graham, I exhaled. What? Do you have any shared devices? A tablet at home? A family location setting? Yeah, I said. She insisted. For safety. Check it, Mina said. Then call me back. And whatever you see, don't text her about it. Not yet. I got in my truck and drove home through streets that looked normal. That was the cruel part. The world never changes its scenery just because your life did. At home, the house felt the way it always did, familiar and slightly too quiet. I walked past the coat rack where her scarf still hung, past the framed photo of us at some fundraiser, both of us smiling like we knew how. The shared tablet was on the kitchen counter, charging like it had no idea it was about to ruin someone's day. I tapped it awake. My thumb hovered over the family app Lenora had insisted we keep for emergencies. Her dot appeared, a little circle on a map, alive, moving, no, parked, and the label under it wasn't hotel or sister or friend. It was a street name I recognized because the town loved talking about who lived there. Dax Merritt's neighborhood. The same Dax Merritt whose name Lenora never said without making it sound like he was harmless. The same Dax Merritt who just happened to be at the last 3 events she dragged me to. All bright teeth and clean blazer and hands that lingered too long when he shook mine. I stared at the dot until my eyes hurt. Then I called Mina back. She wanted space, I said. And she went to him, Mina replied, like she'd already known. I swallowed. What do I do? You do it clean, Mina said. You do it legal. You do it quiet. I looked at the front door. At the lock I'd installed myself last year, after a rash of break-ins on our street. A lock I controlled. A lock that didn't care about vows. She wanted space, I said again, and something cold settled into place behind my ribs. I think I'm going to give her a vacuum. The funny thing about keys is they don't care who's crying. They don't care who needed space. They don't care who made promises under warm lighting and cheap champagne. A key is a piece of metal with one job, and it will do that job until someone changes the rules. I woke up early, the way I always did when my brain decided sleep was optional. The bed beside me was still perfectly made on her side, like she'd never existed there at all. If I squinted, I could pretend she was on a business trip, and this was normal. But normal had a dot on a map parked at Dax Merritt's address. I made coffee, black, bitter, honest. Then I called Mina. Tell me you didn't do anything dumb, she said as her greeting. I'm drinking coffee, I told her. That's my wild phase. Graham. I'm kidding, I said. I haven't texted her. I haven't driven over there. I haven't punched a wall like a teenager in a soap commercial. Good. Now listen carefully, Mina said. Whose name is on the deed? Mine, I said. Premarital. You know that. Whose name is on the car title? Mina asked. I hesitated. Mine. Okay, she said. Then you have leverage, not revenge leverage, boundary leverage. Use it like a grown-up. You're ruining my fantasy where I dramatically throw her clothes onto the lawn. Do you want to win? Or do you want to perform? Mina asked. I stared at the coffee mug. The steam rose and disappeared like my patience. I want it to stop, I said. It will, Mina replied. But you have to do this in a way that leaves her nothing to twist. She's going to try. People like her always try. People like her, I echoed, and that stung, because a month ago I would have argued with that phrasing. I would have defended her. She's stressed, she's under pressure, she's just Lenora. Now I could see the edges of her. Sharp, clean, meant to cut. "What do I do first?" I asked. "Locks," Mina said. "Change them, today, and document everything. Then send a neutral message. Supervise pickup time for essentials. No insults, no threats, no 'you cheated' speeches, just logistics." "You sound like you've done this before," I said. "I've watched it," Mina replied. "Too many times." I walked to the front door and looked at it like it was a person I'd been trusting too long. The lock was my brand, my install, my choice. The house was my asset, the place where I kept my tools, my paperwork, my life. And Lenora had just handed her access to a man who treated other people's homes like investment opportunities. I opened the door and stepped out into the cold morning. The neighborhood was quiet, trash cans lined up like obedient soldiers, frost on lawns, a dog barking somewhere far away. I went to my truck and pulled out my kit. It felt strangely comforting, like muscle memory showing up to hold my hand. Inside, I swapped the main lock first. The screws came out with a soft grind. The old lock dropped into my palm, warm from friction, suddenly useless. I installed the new one slowly, deliberately, like a ritual. Like I was sealing something. By the time I was done, the door clicked shut with a sound that felt different. Final. My phone buzzed. Lenora. I let it ring out the first time, then again. On the third call, I answered because part of me wanted to hear how she'd narrate this. "Why aren't you answering?" she snapped. "Good morning," I said. "I'm fine, thanks for asking." "Don't do that, I'm not in the mood." I noticed. A breath, controlled. Then the softer voice, the one she used when she wanted something. "Graham," she said, "I just need a little time. Can you please not make this harder?" I leaned my forehead against the door, feeling the new metal through the wood like a secret. "Where are you?" I asked. Silence. Not long, but long enough. "At a friend's," she said. "Right," I replied. "Your friend with the real estate billboards." "You tracked me?" she said, and her voice sharpened. "I checked a setting you insisted we have," I said. "For safety. Remember, I'm just being safe." "You're being controlling," she hissed. I almost laughed. The audacity was so clean it could have been sterilized. "You left," I said. "I'm protecting my home. This is our home." "It's my deed," I replied, keeping my voice level. "And you're not here." Her breathing changed. I could hear her recalculating. "Okay," she said carefully. "Let's talk when I come back." "We can schedule a time for you to pick up essentials," I said. "Mina will be present." "Mina?" Lenora repeated, like her name left a bad taste. "Why is she involved?" "Because I'm doing this clean," I said. "Because I'm not giving you anything to spin." "You're making me sound like a villain," she said. I looked at the framed photo on the hallway wall. Lenora in a red dress, me in a suit I hated, both of us smiling like we were selling happiness. "I'm not making you anything," I said. "You're handling that yourself." Her tone dropped. Cold now. The real voice. "If you change the locks," she said slowly, "you will regret it." I glanced down at the shiny new lock. "Little late," I said. There was a second of stunned silence. Then, faintly, I heard another voice in the background, male, amused, too close to her phone. "Dax." Lenora pulled the phone away, like moving it could erase the sound. "I'll be back later," she said tightly. Don't be dramatic." "Lenora," I said, "I'm being practical. You're punishing me." "I'm closing a door," I replied. "There's a difference." I ended the call before she could find a new angle. My hands were steady, but my stomach felt like it was trying to crawl out of my body. I texted her one message, the clean one Mina would approve of. "Pickup of essentials today, 6 p.m. Mina present. Please bring ID. No blame. No rage. just a boundary written in plain English. Then I walked to the kitchen counter where the tablet still sat, innocent and charged. Her dot was still at Dax Merritt's address. I stared at it until the coffee went cold, because the locks were only the first step, and the second step was sitting in my desk drawer upstairs, in a manila envelope I kept like a boring secret. Vehicle title, bill of sale forms, and the kind of paperwork that doesn't care about feelings any more than keys do. I opened the drawer, pulled the envelope out, and my phone buzzed again. A new message. From Lenora. We need to talk. Dax says you won't actually do it. I read it twice, slow. Then I smiled, and it didn't feel like humor. It felt like a switch flipping. I held the title up to the light and thought, very calmly, let's find out what I'll actually do. The tow truck showed up at 9:17 a.m., which felt appropriate. Early enough to be rude, late enough to be deliberate. I stood on the porch with my coffee and watched it crawl down the street like a beetle that had learned how to eat cars. Yellow lights blinking, no siren, no drama, just business. The driver didn't ask many questions. They never do when the paperwork is clean. He backed into the driveway, chains clinking, hydraulics sighing. The sound carried. Curtains twitched along the street. Mrs. Alden across the way pretended to water neglected plants while absolutely not staring. I handed the driver the title and the sale confirmation. He glanced at them, nodded, and got to work. That was when Lenora's car turned the corner. She didn't ease in. She came in hot, tires crunching too fast, door flying open before the engine was fully off. She was out of the car and halfway up the driveway before I could even register her face. "Stop!" she shouted. "Stop! What are you doing?" The driver paused, hands mid-chain, and looked at me. "Keep going," I said. Lenora ran to the driver's door, palms up, breath coming fast. "You can't take this. This is my car." The driver looked at me again. I held up the title. He looked at it, then at her. "Ma'am," he said, already tired, "it's titled to him." Her head snapped toward me. "You sold my car?" "I sold my car," I said. "You were just driving it." She laughed then, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "You're insane." "Ma'am," the driver said, firmer now. "Please step back." She didn't. She grabbed the door handle, knuckles white. The chain tightened with a metallic groan. "Lenora," I said, "let go." She turned on me, eyes bright and wild. "You don't get to do this to me." "I absolutely do," I said, "and I'm doing it quietly." She lunged toward me, not to hit, just to be close enough to force something. I smelled her perfume, the one she wore when she wanted to be remembered. Behind her, another car door slammed. Dax. He walked up the driveway like he owned the slope, jacket open, expression relaxed in that way men practice when they think they're intimidating. He put a hand on Lenora's shoulder, a little too familiar, a little too public. "Hey," he said to her, "it's okay, we'll handle this." I felt something cold settle in my chest, not anger, calculation. "Sir," the driver said, "I need you both to step back." Dax ignored him and looked at me. "This is unnecessary," he said. "You're embarrassing her." "I'm not doing anything in public," I said. "Your presence is." He smiled. "You're making a mistake." I stepped closer. Not fast, not loud, just enough to make him stop smiling. "Touch my property again," I said quietly, "and you'll learn how small this town really is." His eyes flicked to the neighbors, to the tow truck, to the chain lifting Lenora's car inch by inch. For a moment I thought he might push it. Then the car came up off the ground. The sound Lenora made wasn't a scream. It was worse, a broken animal noise that came from somewhere deep and ugly. "No," she said. "No, no, no. Graham, stop this. Please." I looked at her. Really looked. Mascara smudged. Hands shaking. The woman who used to organize hospital galas now arguing with gravity. "Bring your ID at 6, I said. "Essentials only." The car disappeared down the street 10 minutes later, chained and obedient. Lenora stood in my driveway like she'd been dropped there by accident. "You don't know what you just started," she said, voice low, controlled again. I nodded. "Oh, I do." She turned and walked to Dax's car. He opened the door for her. She didn't thank him. They drove off together. I went inside and locked the door. Paper doesn't look dangerous. That's how it gets close. I was at the kitchen table when I found it, a thin packet tucked into Lenora's laptop sleeve like it belonged there. Cream-colored folder, hospital letterhead, my name nowhere on the front, which is how you know it's about you. I didn't open it right away. I made more coffee, sat down, let the house breathe. Then I opened it. Meeting agenda, vendor review, security transition considerations. Phrases like risk mitigation and optics highlighted in pale yellow. There it was, my company, my contracts, my livelihood reduced to bullet points and concerns written by people who'd never changed a lock in their lives. And at the bottom of one page, almost casual, proposed alternative vendor, Merritt Development Security Solutions. I laughed once, short, sharp. I called Mina. "Please tell me you're sitting," she said, after I read her the header. "I'm sitting," I said. "I'm also very calm, which feels new." She exhaled. "Okay, this explains a lot." "It explains why she needed space," I said. She was clearing room. "Did she leave anything else?" Mina asked. I flipped through the packet again. Notes in Lenora's handwriting, a timeline, a line that read, "Graham volatility concern, address pre-transition." I felt my jaw tighten. "Yeah," I said. She was going to make me the problem. Mina went quiet, then said, "We need to preserve this, and you need to not confront her about it yet." "Too late for confrontation," I said. "That ship left with the tow truck." "Good," Mina replied, "because this isn't about yelling. This is about timing." The doorbell rang. I looked at the time. 5:52 p.m. "Call me back," Mina said. "Don't let her inside." I walked to the door and checked the camera feed. Lenora stood on the porch, hair fixed, face composed, holding her purse like a shield. Dax was just off to the side, half visible, leaning against the railing like a bodyguard who wanted to be seen. I opened the door enough to keep the chain taut. She smiled. "Hi." "ID," I said. Her smile faltered. She handed it over. I checked it, handed it back. "Essentials," I said. 10 minutes. She stepped inside and froze. The house looked the same. That was the problem. The silence pressed in around her, thick and final. Dax cleared his throat. "I'll wait outside." I met his eyes. "You'll do that." He hesitated, then stepped back onto the porch. Lenora turned to me. "You didn't have to do all this." I thought about the packet on the table, about my name under risk. "I absolutely did," I said. She followed my gaze to the folder, her face drained of color. "You went through my things," she whispered. "You brought them into my house," I replied. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Recalculated. "This isn't what you think," she said. "It's exactly what I think," I said. "And worse." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it out of habit, then caught herself. I smiled. "Careful," I said. "That habit is how you got here." She straightened, mask sliding back into place. "You're going to regret this," she said. I nodded. "So are you." Outside, a car engine started. I watched Dax's reflection in the window as he pulled away, slow this time, like he was watching to see what I'd do next. And for the first time since the mall, I realized something else. He wasn't done. He was circling. I knew he was following me before I saw him. That wasn't paranoia. That was pattern. The kind you notice when you've spent years watching people walk into places they weren't supposed to be, convinced no one would notice. A car that stayed 2 turns too long, headlights that dipped when mine did. The pause at intersections, not hesitation, but calculation. I didn't speed up. People who speed look guilty. I drove like a man with nowhere urgent to be. Mina was on speaker, quiet but present, like a seatbelt you forget you're wearing until it matters. "He's behind you," she said calmly. "I know," I replied. "Gray sedan, right headlight a fraction dimmer." A pause. "You always were unsettling." We passed the empty mall, the same one Lenora had walked out of days ago, like the floor beneath us wasn't already cracking. Fluorescent lights buzzing, parking lot half empty, a perfect place for someone to feel brave. Dax stayed with me. I turned right. He turned right, left. He followed. I smiled. He wants to be seen. "That means he wants control," Mina said. "Where are you going?" "Somewhere with cameras," I replied, "and exits." The parking garage rose out of the ground like a concrete throat. I dipped inside, tires humming against painted lines. The sound changed immediately, enclosed, echoing, intimate. Dax came in fast behind me. Too fast. I let him. I slowed, counted rows, watched his reflection stretch and compress across car windows as he closed the distance. Then I turned sharply into a narrow aisle marked one way. He hesitated. I didn't. I stopped halfway down, stepped out of my truck, and waited. The garage smelled like oil and old rain. My footsteps echoed once, twice. Dax rolled forward, braking hard a few feet from my bumper. His window slid down. "You've made your point," he said. "You can stop now." I walked toward him, slow, hands visible. Not aggressive, controlled. "You followed me," I said. "That was your choice." He scoffed. "I wanted to talk." "You wanted to see what I was planning," I said. "Because you're scared." He laughed, but it cracked. "Of you?" I leaned down so my face was level with his window, close enough to smell his cologne layered over nerves. "No," I said softly. "Of being exposed." His jaw tightened. "She already signed." That landed. Not hard, just deep. I straightened and stepped back. "Good luck proving that," I said. "Contracts don't like pressure." I turned and walked away before he could say anything else. Behind me, his engine revved once, angry, frustrated, but he didn't follow. Mina exhaled through the phone. "That was risky." "So is overconfidence," I said. "He just showed me his." The counterstrike wasn't dramatic. That's what made it devastating. Paper, timing, silence. Mina's office was small and efficient, like her. No art meant to impress, just shelves and files and a printer that sounded like it hated everyone equally. I laid the packet out on her desk. The agenda, the notes, the highlighted lines that reduced me to a liability. She didn't swear, she didn't gasp, she just nodded. "This is conflict of interest," she said. "Clear, documented, sloppy." "Lenora doesn't do sloppy," I said. "She did when she assumed you'd be loud," Mina replied. "She planned for rage, not restraint." She slid a yellow pad toward me. "We notify compliance, not accusations, just facts, attachments, dates, no emotion." I wrote the email the way I fixed locks. Tight, precise, impossible to misinterpret. Subject line, notice of potential conflict. Vendor review. No adjectives, no insults, just evidence. Mina reviewed it once, nodded, and hit send. "That's step 1, she said. "Step 2 is letting the room see itself." As if summoned, my phone buzzed. "Lenora." I let it ring. Then a text. "We need to talk before tonight. This is getting out of hand." I stared at the screen. Then I typed back one sentence. "We can talk at the fundraiser." 3 dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. "Please don't do this." I set the phone face down. Mina watched me carefully. "You sure?" "No," I said. "But I'm ready." Outside, the afternoon light faded toward evening, the lake beyond town darkening into something reflective and still. Somewhere between here and there, Lenora was realizing the ground had shifted. And Dax was realizing that whatever he thought he'd bought wasn't his to keep. By the time evening settled over the lake, the town had already chosen a side. It always did, not out of loyalty, out of appetite. I arrived early and didn't go inside right away. I stood across the street and watched people gather, donors, board members, administrators with smiles calibrated to power. The building glowed warm and expensive, glass walls catching reflections like the place was collecting secrets. Mina joined me without a word. She didn't ask if I was ready. She knew better. "You say what you need to say," she murmured. "Then you stop. Don't linger." "I won't," I said. "Lingering is how people beg." Inside, the noise wrapped around us, laughter, music, the soft currency of networking. I moved through it like water, nodding where required, accepting a glass I didn't drink from. Faces registered recognition, then curiosity. Word had already traveled. It always traveled faster than truth, but tonight, truth was keeping pace. Lenora spotted me from across the room. For half a second, her expression slipped. Not fear, calculation failing to load. She excused herself from a circle and walked toward me, posture perfect, eyes sharp. Dax trailed her by instinct, not invitation. "What are you doing here?" she asked quietly. "Same thing you are," I said. "Standing under lights. This is not the place. That's where we disagree." Her phone vibrated. She ignored it. Dax stepped closer, too close. "You got what you wanted," he said. "You made your point. Walk away." I turned my head slightly. "You don't get to assign endings." A spoon tapped a glass. The room shifted. Attention pulled toward the small stage near the windows. Lenora's fingers tightened around her clutch. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I waited," I said. The microphone came alive with a soft pop. A board member began speaking. Gratitude, generosity, the usual preamble. While he spoke, I stepped forward. Just enough, visible, present. When there was a pause, I raised my hand. "I have a brief clarification," I said, voice steady, carrying farther than I expected. "Relevant to tonight's cause." The room stilled in that particular way crowds do when they sense something is about to break. I didn't accuse, I didn't emote. I stated dates, meetings, vendor review language, a conflict that spoke for itself. I held up the packet. Paper is persuasive when it's quiet. Phones came out. Whispers rippled. Someone said Lenora's name, soft but sharp. She stepped toward me, face tight. "You're twisting this." "I didn't twist anything," I said. "I brought it exactly as it was." Dax grabbed my arm. That was his mistake. I turned, fast and controlled, knocked his hand away, and stepped into his space. No spectacle, just enough force to make the point unavoidable. "Do not touch me again," I said, low and clear. The room heard it anyway. Security moved. Voices rose. Lenora's composure cracked, just a hairline fracture, but it spread. She looked at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. "You did this because you couldn't let go," she said, sharp, defensive. "Because you needed to win." I leaned in, close enough that only she could hear. "I did this because you needed space," I said, "and I gave it to you." I stepped back. The moment was over. I didn't wait for applause or outrage. Those were for people who needed validation. Outside, the night was cold and clean. The lake reflected the building's lights, distorted and broken, like the image had finally caught up with the truth. Mina exhaled beside me. "That's it." "Not quite," I said. Lenora arrived at the house less than an hour later. I watched her on the camera, hair undone now, movements sharp, knocking hard enough to bruise her knuckles. Dax's car idled at the curb, lights on, unsure whether it belonged there anymore. I opened the door just enough to speak through it. "We need to talk," she said, breathless. This went too far. She tried the handle. It didn't move. I stayed where I was. She said she needed space to think. I said evenly. Went to her ex's house to think. I gave her all the space. Changed the locks, sold her car. Her face twisted. You can't just erase me. I didn't, I replied. You walked out. I came back, she said. I'm here. There was nothing left to say, I told her. She slammed her palm against the door, once, twice. I slid the lock home. The sound was final, clean, absolute. I stepped back as her reflection vanished from the glass. And that was where it ended.